Hi, I'm Amy and this is A-Star Reads, and it is time for Sunday Sum Up, which I'm excited about because I missed it last week. I was trying to get back on schedule, but this last week actually ended up being quite busy. And it was good busy because it was my last week spending time with the students before they left 5th grade forever and are going off to middle school next year. I don't think it seems real yet. I don't think it seems real that I won't see most of these kids again, which is really sad actually if you think about it. And even though I didn't spend the whole school year with them and 5 days a week with these students, I did spend a lot of time getting to know them. So I'm invested in how well they're doing. So hopefully I'll maybe make it down to the middle school at some time and just see what they're up to. I don't know. I don't know how that works. I'm sure it gets easier and easier. I don't know if that's true, but I'm sure it gets easier and easier. At least you get more used to the process of sending the kids off when you've been working as a teacher for a while. Although who knows if I'll actually end up being a 5th grade teacher. When I go and look for work, I'll probably take what I can get. I'd like to work with 5th grade because I really enjoy the 5th graders, but you never know. And I like all the kids. I like all the kids. It was a really nice last day and there was a lot of tears shed by the students. Not me, like I said, I kind of feel like I'm in denial about it. And they really liked their bookmarks a lot, actually. I was very impressed how well received those were. I wasn't sure, if they'd be like, what is this? But so many of them are excited about middle grade and nervous about knowing where they need to go, who their teachers are, what time all these things are going to happen, that they were really excited about the schedule on the bookmark because they were like, oh, this is going to be so useful next year. And I was like, oh, they liked it. Some of them were pretty sentimental too. They liked that I added our class song and stuff on the back of the bookmark. And so it made me think if I do end up becoming a 5th grade teacher, this is something I might want to do every year because it's a nice way to send them off to middle school, give them something that will give them the memory of where they came from, their 5th grade experience, but also prepares them for what's coming next, their big 6th grade middle school experience. So that's really what I've been up to. Plus, as you may have seen, my reading hasn't been so great because I've been working on my Book Love is Blind series, which has been fantastic. So much fun to work on that series. And I'm just excited every week when the next one comes out. I can't wait to see what people think. And hopefully everybody is enjoying it as much as I am because it's so much fun. And that's pretty much it as far as what's been happening in my life. Not that much, but a lot. Not that much, but enough that it's been keeping me busy from other things like reading or video editing. So in this video, I will share with you books that I read a while ago, but I didn't get a chance to do a Sunday Sum Up for a while. So I'm going back in the past and sharing these book reviews with you. Also, I did get some interest in hearing the middle grade books that I've received, so I will go through some of those. I won't go through all of them because I have so many of them, but I will add some of that into these videos. It's mostly a catch-up video, so here is what I've been up to in the last month or so. Are you scared, Ma? What do you think, Cease?
I think it's hot.
He's furious. Definitely needs it, my poor car. Where are we going?
Orcas Island, here we come.
I think Orcas Island is becoming our go-to destination.
Well, it's close. Mm-hmm. We get to ride a ferry over there. Who doesn't want to ride a ferry?
You want to drive a ferry?
I think I'd be afraid to drive one of those big old boats.
Plus, it feels like you're on vacation when we go.
Yeah, I think we don't even get good phone reception, so we're not going to get anybody bothering us.
That's true. So we are on our way.
Woo-hoo.
Okay, so I have finished I Married a Minotaur by Regine Abel. This is an independent author that does monster smut. And I got into this particular series because of I Married a Lizard Man, which was, I don't want to say all the rage because I think the one with the blue aliens, I can't remember what that one's called. I think that one has gotten a little more traction. However, I really like this series because It is smutty, but it is also kind of sweet, and these romances are very formulaic, but they're fun to read when you need a break from other types of books. So I Married a Minotaur is the 5th in the Prime Mating Agency series. I've been having fun just going through this series kind of slowly, picking up the books when I feel like reading something a little different. And this one was fun. It actually was not my favorite of the series, which is funny because the last one I read, I Married a Merman, I know Shell wasn't crazy about that one, but I really liked that one. And this one, Mom and Shell were both like, I Married a Minotaur is my new favorite, or at least they both loved it. And it was one of my least favorites. I think I Married a Birdman is still my least favorite, but I was not as crazy about this one. And what's interesting about that is I Married a Birdman and I Married a Minotaur both take place on the same planet, and they do involve some of the same characters, which the other books in the series don't tie in the same way. They usually are featuring other people from other planets and they don't have any connection to the other stories. Whereas this one, these two connect to each other. And I was really excited about this one because I remember the main character in this, the Minotaur, from that other book. And I was like, oh, I can't wait to see what comes up with this. And it was fun. It was fine. It was good. I enjoyed it. The main character, she was a little... not my favorite main character of all the main characters. And I do see that Regine Abel does differentiate the dialogue and some of the things that the characters do and think about just to make sure that the characters seem different. And this particular character, her personality and her dialogue, the way she spoke, just kind of annoyed me. I wasn't a fan. It just wasn't my favorite. And so even though this was a fun read, and I did enjoy it for what it is, I am giving it a 3.5 stars, which to me, for a romance, is a good rating. Because romances, I have a harder time rating higher unless they're really incredible. Because, I don't know, I think that the rating system is a bit flawed. Because we are putting apples versus oranges and rating romances against literary fiction or fantasy or things like that. Doesn't make sense to me sometimes. So this particular episode of the Prime Mating Agency is about... I don't remember their names right now. And it's been a while since I've read this, so I'm not going to remember their names. So these Minotaurs have this biological need to fight because in order to grow their bodies, in order to be healthy, they actually have to fight each other. Because for some reason, that's the way their biology actually works. They don't get larger, they don't get healthy if they don't fight. The problem is that their rages increase as they get older, and they can reach a point where they just start killing each other off. And the women of the Minotaurs can't do anything about it, neither can the children of these male Minotaurs. And it's really destructive to the society. So our main Minotaur character is actually quite intelligent. The Minotaurs don't usually spend that much time becoming educated because they're too busy trying to make themselves bulkier and bigger and fighting. And he has a greater understanding of how these Minotaurs' biology works and what are some solutions to what they can do to stop this pattern of mass death and destruction of generations of Minotaurs. Our main female character is like a smuggler or something like that. Yeah, she's some type of smuggler. She doesn't usually do the most shady of dealings, but the people she works with are really shady. And she actually ends up getting thrown under the bus by one of her colleagues. And in order to save herself from a lifetime of imprisonment, she has to marry this Minotaur for reasons. And so I do think that the ideas that Regine Abel comes up with are really fun. I do enjoy them, and I did enjoy this one. It just wasn't my favorite of all the ones I've read so far, and I will be interested to see what happens next. I have since picked up the 6th book in the series, I Married a Dragon, and I have started it. I haven't had a chance to get back to it. I picked it up because I needed to read something while I was sitting and waiting, and the only thing I had was my phone, which has all my Kindle books on it. So I started that, and so far I'm really enjoying I Married a Dragon. I'm only like 14% of the way through though, so you know, it's too soon to say. Now, I will say this, and I've said it before, I know that a lot of people are a little nervous about monster smut, and I think that there are definitely a lot of different types of monster smut out there. And if you're looking for one that's a little more wholesome, like, it's still very smutty, but if you're looking for one that's a little less scary, I guess, in the sense that you're reading smut with monsters, I would recommend this series because I think she writes it in a way that's very sweet. You know, it feels very sweet, even though you do get those smutty scenes. So if you're interested, check out I Married a Lizard Man. This was a series I never thought I would read, and I ended up reading it, and I've been enjoying it a lot. Okay, so it's time for a little haul, and the way I think I want to do these middle grade ones is that I'm going to give a description that is no more than one sentence. So if you have heard of any of these books, because most of them I haven't heard at all of, let me know what you thought about them in the comment section down below. I do plan on reading these at some point because I would like to read all the books that I have in my class available to my students, so that way if they have questions or if I know what the book is about, I can talk about the books with the students. But if you'd like to tell me some of your thoughts, I'd love to hear those as well. The first book, however, is not a middle grade. This is A Curious Beginning by Deanna Raybourn. This is the first book in the Veronica Speedwell mystery series, and this is an historical mystery series that is set in the Victorian era. My mom's obsessed with it. So many booktubers love it. And I had gotten it from the library and somebody wanted it. I didn't get around to reading it. So because mom really wants this whole series anyways, and I haven't had a chance to read it, I need to read it, I decided just to pick the first book up. So I've got the first book. I am excited about this one. So many people have told me that I will enjoy this a lot, and I believe that I will, just because of when it's set, and also because Veronica Speedwell, our main character, is like a scientist, and she uses her knowledge of science and whatnot to solve these mysteries. And I think that that sounds like a really fun time, especially thinking about the Victorian era. So I got that, and I'm excited to get to this. Am I going to get to it this month like I'm supposed to? Probably not. It's just not looking good. It's not looking good, friends. So for the middle grade books, my first haul that I want to start going through, and I say start going through because I'm only going to try and do 5 books at a time. I got 26 books from the librarian at the school that I'm currently doing my student internship at. And she was like, I got to get rid of these books. I'm taking them out of the system. Would you like them? And me and another student teacher got to split up all these books. So I do have several duplicates. I'm not going to be sharing all 26 of them because some of them are the exact same thing, but I will share them in 5 book increments so you can see what I got from the school library. The first one is Guinea Dog by Patrick Jennings. And for my sentence, guinea pig that thinks it's a dog. My second one is Tango, the Tale of an Island Dog. And the name of the author got cut off. Eileen Beha. And this one, for my sentence, City Dog Gets Stranded on an Island. The next book I want to talk about is The Popularity Papers, Research for the Social Improvement and General Betterment of Lydia Goldblatt and Julie Graham Chang. And this is by Amy Ignato. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but that's the author's name. And for my sentence, junior high students wanting to get popular, but other things are in store for them. And I should also point out that this is mixed media format. So you've got a lot of writing in there and a lot of pictures and stuff like that. So it looks like it's from the perspective of these 2 girls. It's made to look like they've written it out themselves. The next one is the first in a series. This is The Shadows by Jacqueline West. And this is part of the Books of Elsewhere series. And look at that, that's a pretty fun, bit of hollow going on there. And my sentence is, an old pair of glasses from her creepy new home help Olive travel through paintings. Okay, the next one is The Godwalloper Games, Do You Have What It Takes to Win? By Jodie Feldman. And my sentence for this one is, Gil's family will only move if he is able to win this toy company's competition. Okay, so I want to talk about Fat Girls Hiking. I can't remember the name of the author right now, but you'll see it here. And this is a nonfiction book that is sort of like a guidebook for fat people to discuss what you can do to get out there, to hike more, to not let society and the activewear industry and all these different recreational industries to stop you from doing what you want to do. Even though society puts limitations on us for being fat, doesn't mean we should stop doing the things that are important to us, that matter to us, and maybe changing the way we look at these different activities. Like if we want to exercise to get outdoors, to enjoy ourselves, it doesn't always have to be a competitive thing. It doesn't always have to be tied to exercise. Like exercise is important, but that is not the whole intention of getting out and hiking. And the author has created this community and this organization called Fat Girls Hiking, where they actually have different units throughout the US and including Canada, where they get together and just hike. And there are rules about going on hikes as part of the Fat Girl Hiking group. And that is, you can't talk about weight, you can't talk about weight loss. Like the intention is not to go into these hikes thinking, I'm here because I want to exercise and be healthy. The intention is, I'm here because I want to get out in nature and I want to spend time with other like-minded people. She has those rules because she doesn't want it to feel exclusive to anybody, including people who may be fat but aren't looking to lose weight. And the other focus that this group has is that they try to find hikes that are accessible to people with different disabilities or different levels of mobility. Also, they're very supportive of the LGBTQ community, and they really just want to make sure that everybody who comes on these hikes feels safe, feels important and like they're meant to be there, and doesn't ever feel like they're being talked down to by somebody else. Because I think all of us who are fat know that people try to push that on you, and it's not like you don't realize that. But sometimes we want to do things just for the sake of doing them, including hiking, and we can have these toxic ideas of what hiking should be. And the problem with that is then people don't hike when they could be hiking. They don't get out and enjoy nature because it's not accessible. They are afraid they're going to be laughed at or made fun of. Or even one thing that is frustrating for me even is that when I'm on a trail and I'm hiking and I'm a fat person and somebody walks by me and goes, "Good job, glad to see you're getting out," I want to see that person say that to every single other person on the trail that is skinny or fat, because otherwise you're basically talking down to me in a lot of ways. And they may not see it that way, they may think of it as encouraging, but I'm not there trying to find your acceptance or your approval. And so it gets really frustrating when people do that, because you know they're not saying that to the athletic person who just walked up the hill. Despite my size, I've been very active. I've done a lot of dance. I've done a lot of hiking. I know my way around a gym really well. I have created my own spin classes, like in the sense that I create my own mixes and put my own exercises to them. So like, I know how to exercise. It's not brand new to me, but sometimes you go into places and people are like, "Oh, do you need help? Do you need to know what to do?" Because they think because you're fat, you don't know how to exercise. And so that can be really frustrating. And that was one of the things that was pointed out in this book, was how we get these perceptions placed on us because of our size, but they're unrealistic. And most of the time they're not true. So it's really nice to just have a community of people coming together where we just accept each other as individuals, as people who love to hike and people love to enjoy nature, and not worry about the fact that we're fat. My favorite part of this actually was that I was buddy reading it with Sandy from Miss Reads a Lot and Amanda from the Reading and Writing Life, and we all just had such a good time discussing some of the things we've come up against, being heavy and then trying to find clothes, exercise clothes, as people who are larger. It's really difficult, and the industry makes it you feel like you shouldn't be exercising, which is silly and ridiculous and also very shaming. And so a lot of our conversations were actually about some of the things that we've come across, that we have seen happen to us or other people we know, and how that makes us feel. And it was a really cathartic conversation. It was wonderful to talk to these lovely, lovely ladies. I love Sandy and Amanda. They're amazing. And I just feel good about having conversations with people who understand you, or at least can understand where you're coming from. And that can be really difficult when you're larger, because a lot of people don't necessarily understand that. They think they do. They think they know what's best. They think they know what's best for you, but they don't necessarily. As far as the book itself goes, I think that I don't know how to rate it, because it's like a coffee table book. It was very fun to read. I enjoyed it. It got a little repetitive towards the end, but it was nice to hear these different people's experiences, because she did have community members share their individual experiences in this book, and I liked that. She did give a lot of tips to people who maybe have not ever hiked before, and I liked that because we got to talk through some of those things. It was a fun book to talk to other people about. about. I would say, I don't know, a higher 3-star maybe, only because I don't know that it was necessarily targeted towards me as someone who has hiked a lot more in my life. And secondly, I don't know that I would use it over and over again. Like, there were definitely hikes in there, and they gave suggestions and details about these different hikes, but they were very specific hikes in very specific places. Like, it'd be fun to go check these hikes out. It was like some of the favorite hikes of people who belong to this organization, and some of them were just like neighborhood hikes. So it wasn't bad. It was very interesting, and I liked reading about all these different things, but it was sort of middle of the road as far as like how useful I found the book for myself. As far as being a catalyst for conversation with the 2 people I was buddy reading it for, it was fantastic for that. So I enjoyed myself. I do recommend this if you're interested in learning more about hiking and you're someone who doesn't feel comfortable or safe hiking and feels that you're being shamed or being judged. This is a great book to read for that. And also, if you're someone who is looking to understand more about fat people, this is a good suggestion for that. If you're also someone who is fat and you're looking to accept yourself more, I felt like some of the conversations in this and some of the stories help when you're trying to appreciate who you are more and what you're capable of, and that society should not be judging you based off what your body looks like. So I came home from my trip and I have book mail, and I don't know if I ordered anything. So let's find out what I got. There's notes. Oh, here they are. Why do you keep doing this, Paige? Obviously, I had to. Happy end of school. So proud of you. Much love from Paige. Also, this just entertains me muchly from Paige. Paige, stop! I mean, I love it, but why do you have to keep spoiling me? Oh! Well, okay, so first things first. The Song Rising, the next book for the Bookstar read-alongs, and Paige, you're so sweet, you're so kind, and you're the one who's solely curating my Bone Season collection. Thank you so much, Paige. I am so excited. I'm ready to get on with the series and see what happens next, because at the end of this, I was like, okay, we're going somewhere. Where are we going? So I'll be finding out in July, I think is when we're reading this. Yeah, July. The other thing, I'm very excited about this, Braiding Sweetgrass for Young Adults by Robin Wall Kimmerer. This was adapted by Monique Gray Smith, and I have been wanting this for my classroom. So I loved Braiding Sweetgrass. I've loved all the messages that Robin Wall Kimmerer provided. And there's a lot of things in there that I was like, God, I would love to tell this story to my students. I think this would work for many different ages, especially because a lot of her writing in the adult version, it could work for kids if you word it correctly. Like, nothing is inappropriate, but I'm so excited that there's a young readers version. I can't wait to read this and just highlight it and mark it and save things for myself so that I can have this available when I want to talk to my students about it. And it looks like there are the sections, like Witch Hazel. There was a section on Witch Hazel in the adult book, and it seems like this is just a shortened version of that story and worded in a way that's more appropriate for younger readers. So, oh, the Three Sisters, yes! This is fantastic, and it's got pictures in it too, so it's really, really, really pretty. Oh, look at that one. Oh, that is stunning. I cannot wait to get to this. Thank you, Paige. This is a surprise. Oh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I'm so happy this school term is done. And Paige has been really rooting me on, and she's a wonderful, wonderful, kind, thoughtful person. And you need to check out her channel. I mean, you're probably already watching her channel, but if you're not, go watch her channel. I will link her channel information down below, and you need to go watch it. All right, it's time for the next 5 books in the middle grade haul. Okay, so the first one is Crunch by Leslie Connor. And for this one, my sentence is, a gasoline shortage and his stuck parents caused Dewey and his sister to be in charge of the bike shop and all the trouble that comes with it. This next one has quite the unique synopsis. I'm not sure what I think about this one, but it's called Cosmic. It's by Frank Cottrell Boyce. And my sentence for this one is, 12-year-old boy who looks like he's 30 cons his way onto a spaceship with his friends and takes off. Okay, so the next one is The Prairie Thief by Melissa Wiley. And the sentence for this one is, Louisa is stuck living with the people who accused her father of stealing, and she hopes that a magical secret will clear his name. Okay, so this next one sounds kind of cute and fun, and this is called Charlie Joe Jackson's Guide to Not Reading by Tommy Greenwald. And my sentence for this is, Charlie Joe, who has never read a book and refuses to read one, is challenged when he hits middle school and has to find ways to keep himself from reading. The last one for this group is Stumptown Kid by Carol Gorman and Ron J. Findley. And my sentence for this one is, in this historical fiction, Charlie invites a black, unhoused man named Luther to coach his baseball team, and they have to face a lot of racism from the town. It looks like this season is starting. The season where Cece gets covered in these little thingies, these little seeds. And basically all of these plants, all of those are the kind that leave their little seeds on Cece. And she loves to hop through there and then get covered. I have finished The Mime Order by Samantha Shannon. This is the second book in the Bone Season series, and I'm reading this series with the Bookstar Read-Alongs group, which I co-host with Danielle from Bookara and Paige from Pages with Paige. I will link their information down below, as well as the announcement video and the link for the Discord group, all in the description box below. Come join us. We have a great group. Would love to hear your thoughts on these books. And in the Discord group, we have chapter sections broken up for each book. We also have a live show discussion at the end of each month that we read a book. And there is a schedule of the books that we're reading this year in the announcement video that's linked down below. And I will also link up here the live show discussion where we discuss the Mime Order, so you can go check out our thoughts. We had some differing opinions, including mine. Mine was quite different. So the first book I really enjoyed. I gave it a 4.25 or a 4.5 or something like that, The Bone Season. This book, the second book, I only gave a 3.5, and I did enjoy it. But the setting had changed so drastically, and I really liked the setting from the first book. And in the first book, we got so much of the Refame, which are these clairvoyant extreme people that we learn about in the first book. And we didn't get them in the second book as much. We did get them, but we didn't get them as much. And one of my favorite characters was not nearly as present in the second book. And for some reason, it was more so the setting, though. It just wasn't as entertaining or interesting to me. It took me a very long time to get into this book. I felt it was kind of tedious at the beginning, which was a bummer. But it ultimately ended up being so exciting. And when Samantha Shannon actually creates action scenes and fight scenes, they are so good. You just get sucked up into them. And there was some really good scenes in this book. So like absolutely 5-star moments, but not a 5-star book for me. So I'm hoping that in the next book, The Song Rising, it'll pick back up and I will enjoy it just as much as I enjoyed the first one. And that's not to say that I didn't enjoy it. The 3.5 is right in the middle of the road for me. I did really like it. It changed. And change is good. Change can be good. But sometimes when you like the original formula, you're like, ah. So this series in general is about clairvoyancy magic. And it is illegal in this world, in Scion, which is what we call this London area, Scion. The non-magic people are basically condemning the people who are magic, and they condemn them to death or imprisonment. If you are magic, you are not allowed to use your clairvoyancy. And you're especially not allowed to use your clairvoyancy for business, like for work. But of course, people who have clairvoyant magic, since they sort of live in their own hidden world of London, they have to make a living. So oftentimes they do use their clairvoyance for work. Now, there is this group called the Syndicate, which is like the political group of the clairvoyants. So it's almost like there's two separate groups, and the Syndicate is completely hidden. Like the Scion, I think they're aware of it, but they don't really know all the details about it. And within the Syndicate, if you're a clairvoyant, there are certain levels of your clairvoyancy, like certain people are seen as more valuable than others. And you join these gangs, if you are fortunate enough to be able to join them, where you're given a certain amount of protection. And if you don't, you tend to just kind of be people who work on the street or do jobs that are really unsavory. So that's basically how the setup of this world is, and it is a lot more than that. It's a lot more than that. Things change very drastically in the first book, and then again they change very drastically in the second book. And so I am looking forward to seeing what the next part of this story is, because the end of this book was fantastic and I'm kind of ready to see where things go next. I'm not as crazy about this main character, Paige. I don't dislike her, but I'm not as crazy about her as I want to be. She's sort of hot and cold for me. Sometimes I really like her and I think I understand her motives and the things she does. Sometimes I'm just like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? Why are you making these choices? So that seems to be true a lot of times for YA stories when it comes to the main characters. You're just kind of like, what are you thinking? She isn't as annoying as some other YA main female characters. Let's do another 5. The first book is Diamond Willow by Helen Frost, and I've been struggling to work through the sentence. I've done it so many times. But one thing I will say is that this is a book of poetry, or at least it has a lot of poetry in it, and you can tell just by the writing. So that's wonderful. But that is not my sentence. My sentence is Willow is working through a bunch of social situations while also hoping that she can solo dog sled from her grandmother's house with her favorite dog, Rocky. Roxy! Ah! I'm not doing it again. I can't. The next book is Zorgamazoo by Robert Paul Weston, and my sentence is a fantastical book of poetry. It's kind of a cop-out, but it's about a whole bunch of different topics, so it's not just one. It says there is an adventurous girl, but then there's also all these other things that have to do with it. So now I just gave you a whole bunch of sentences, and I kind of broke my rules, didn't I? Oh well. The third book is Nerds, National Espionage, Rescue, and Defense Society by Michael Buckley, and my sentence is, these nerdy children are also spy kids. Book number 4 is called Moxie Maxwell Does Not Love Stuart Little, and this is by Peggy Gifford. And my sentence for this is, Moxie Maxwell struggles to read Stuart Little. So you're getting so good. And the last one from this group is Dying to Meet You. This is the first book in the 43 Old Cemetery Road series by Kate Cleese, illustrated by M. Sarah Cleese, because this is a mixed media book. And my sentence for this one is, an author with writer's block moves into a Victorian mansion for peace and quiet, but finds he is not alone. Okay, so I want to talk about The Good Master by Kate Seredy. This is a middle grade book that I never expected to read. But somehow what this book was about worked for my TBR game, because I pulled a prompt where I had to randomly generate a picture, and the picture that came up was a poolie dog. And apparently poolie dogs are originally from the country of Hungary, and they are sheep herding dogs. So this particular story is set in Hungary, and it's on a farm, set on a farm. And so I was like, oh, that's perfect. And poolie dogs are also described to be playful and fun and like really goofy, have a lot of energy. And I was like, well, that's kind of perfect for a middle grade novel. This book also worked really well for May of the Moderns, which is a readathon I was loosely participating in back in May. Loosely, because I didn't actually get anything done, but this book. And the reason this worked for May of the Moderns is because the intention behind May of the Moderns is to read books that were published between 1901 and 1945. And this one was published in, I think, 1930 something. Anyways, this was definitely within the time period, and so I was interested and excited, and I got really good reviews, actually. The average rating is 4.13. So I was like, what are middle grades like from the 1930s? So the story is about this young boy named Yanchi and this young girl named Kate. Yanchi and his family live on a farm. It's him and his mom and his dad. I don't know if he has any other siblings. I can't remember. But they find out that his cousin Kate is going to come stay on the farm with them because she's been getting into a lot of trouble. Her mom has died. Her dad is the only person taking care of her in the city of Budapest. And she's just been getting into a lot of trouble. So she's going to come live on the farm and hopefully calm down a little bit, I guess, is the hope. So she comes to the farm and she gets up to some pretty wild hijinks at the very beginning. You're like, wow, this girl is a lot of work. She's a lot of work. And yet over time, as you can imagine, she starts enjoying living on the farm and getting to know her family members well. And so that's really the whole point of this story, is seeing this farm experience with Yanchi getting to know his new cousin and with Kate getting to know the farm life and her cousin. And so it was really sweet. And there were a lot of moments of this that I really enjoyed, the relationships between these characters. And I did enjoy the details about this period of Hungarian life. You know, what their home was like, what the clothing they wore, what kind of big events they had going on. I really did find that to be a very fun experience for me. And another thing I liked a lot about the way this story was told is that there were several times throughout the story where they had specific people telling stories, like storytelling. So you not only had this one greater story, but you had a couple of what seemed like folklore type stories interspersed throughout this book. And I really enjoyed that. I love that. Anytime you add storytelling to a book, I already love storytelling, obviously, because I'm a reader, but you can add more storytelling. I'm a fan. I would probably give this book a 3.75. Now, I did really enjoy it, and there were so many times when I thought that this would be a higher rating from me because I was impressed at how much I was enjoying these perspectives, these characters, the shenanigans they got into. I don't necessarily want to say the message in this, although don't expect the worst. You know, there's always good in people, and you just need to find out what's going on with them and understand why they're in the situation that they're in. That's a good message. There was a lot of leaning into the gender roles in this that I wasn't crazy about, but that is kind of to be expected from this time period, so I wasn't surprised by that. What I was a little surprised by, and I say a little surprised by only because we weren't getting much of this from a good portion of the book, was that, you know, I figured 1930s, I think the author, who is Hungarian, came to the US in the 20s, understanding what her life would have been like at that time, understanding what life was like at that time. I would have expected a lot more problematic elements to this. But we didn't get too many to begin with. But then there was one section where an incident happened with a group of Romani people, and the prejudice really came through in that section. It was pretty bad. And I was surprised at how heavy-handed it was and how villainized this group of people were made out to be. And so that really showed what the author felt about this group of people. And granted, in Europe during that time, there was a lot of prejudice against Romani people. So I'm not saying that's okay. I'm just saying it's not a surprise. And yet I was still surprised because it was pretty icky. It was pretty icky. I didn't like that section. I had a hard time reading it. And I would say that dropped my rating quite a bit because even knowing how the time was, it made it harder for me to enjoy this experience of reading it when I had that bad taste in my mouth. All that being said, this was definitely a book that gave you the experience of living on a farm in Hungary in like the late 1800s / early 1900s. It gave you that pastoral vibe and had a lot of description about what life would have been like at that time. And I do believe that Kate Seredy, the author, was really trying to share a bit about her culture and maybe even see herself in one of her characters and explain what life would have been like at that time in Hungary. And so I felt like that part of it really was interesting to me, and I did enjoy learning about all the little details that she included in this book. All right, the last 4 for this haul. Thank goodness, because I'm struggling with the sentences at this point. My brain is like, nah, I'm done. I'm done. The first book is Aerith's Birthday by Avi, and it's illustrated by Brian Flocka. I think I've read picture books illustrated by Brian Flocka, because that name looks familiar. Unfortunately, this is the 4th book in a series, and that's a bit of a bummer. So, my sentence for this particular book is: Aerith leaves after he feels forgotten on his birthday and ends up taking care of 3 fox kits. The next book is The Seer of Shadows by Avi again, and my sentence for this one is: Rational Horace gets a big surprise when he finds a supernatural image in a photographic portrait he takes. The next book is Ignatius McFarland Frequenaut by Paul Feig. It's a very fun title. And my sentence for this one is: Bullied Ignatius wants to find friendly aliens, so he builds a rocket and finds another dimension instead. So the final book in this haul is Lone Wolf. This is the first book in the Wolves of the Beyond series, and this is by Catherine Lasky. And my sentence for this is, because of the Wolfpack rules, Falan is left behind and has to figure out how to survive. So those are all the books that I got from the librarian at the elementary school I'm currently at. And I did get a huge box of books from my cooperating teacher that she was trying to get rid of. So I have a lot more books, and maybe I'll sprinkle them into some of my other Sunday sum-ups. And don't forget, if you've read any of these books, please leave a comment down below and let me know what you thought. So those are all the reviews that I have ready for this video. I still have 2 more books that I finished in May that I haven't yet had the chance to review. So fingers crossed, I will get those reviewed this week, and then those will be in the next Sunday Sum Up. Let's talk a little bit about what I'm currently reading. My reading has really slowed down recently. I just have been really busy with other things. But the books I'm currently actively working on right now, because I have quite a few that I started and I'm not working on them at the moment. But the ones I'm actively working on are a buddy read of Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. This is a reread for me, and I'm enjoying getting to see all the little Easter eggs and stuff that I wouldn't have paid attention to the first time I was reading this. And I'm reading this with Jean, one of my wonderful subscribers. And we're having a great time just talking through each chapter. The chapters aren't very long, but we have a lot to say because there's so many little details in this story. And so we are currently on page 108. It's not a very large book, but we both have other commitments at the moment, so we're not trying to get through this super fast. The other buddy read I'm continuing to work on is House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J Maas, and I have not been able to read this for the last couple of days because school got so busy with the last few days of school for the kids, and so I need to catch up. I have some catching up to do, but I am buddy reading this with Di from Deese's 19 Hearts. I will link her channel down below, and we're having such a great time, like just chatting about all the things when it comes to this book. And I think for both of us, it's taken more of an upwards turn because it was a little difficult at first. It was a little difficult. So I'm currently right there on page 302. And finally, the audiobook I'm currently listening to is A History of Wild Places by Shea Ernshaw. I'm 57% of the way through, so I'm over halfway. And I'm actually really enjoying this. It's very, very atmospheric. So just having a good time with this particular audiobook. And I think the secret for audiobooks for me might be mystery thrillers. That might be the kind of book I need to listen to on audiobooks. Because it seems like for the most part, anytime I pick up a mystery thriller audiobook, I'm happy with the outcome. And that is not true for most other types of books when I listen to them. So I feel good about that. And I do have other ones that I have started and I just have not had time to get back to them, like Grapes of Wrath, which I was really enjoying. So I really do hope to catch up this week. I don't have too many things going aside from I have to take my 2 exams. They're like the state exams you have to take to become an educator. So I'm taking one on Tuesday this week and I'm taking one on Thursday. And I'm hoping they're not too bad. I've talked to my fellow student teachers to ask them like how much they studied. And most of them said they either didn't study at all or they studied very little, but they didn't find that studying helped anyways because the questions are so random. So I'm gonna go in depending on this thing up here. I think I'll pass, right? I think I will. So that's pretty much it as far as what I've got going this next week. So I'm hoping to catch up on my reading. I have been a little distracted by doing things around the house. I did a lot of yard work today, which my yard really needed it. So I've been working on the table and all the stuff too. So I'm like, these things need to happen, but I also want to get to my reading. So I've got to juggle all the things. Anyways, let me know how your reading went this past week. Did you read anything that was absolutely amazing and you want everybody to know about it? Let us know in the comment section down below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you can see what happens in the next week of my reading. Will I get caught up on all these books that I started a while ago and I'm currently reading? I'm looking at my Goodreads. I have 8 books on there that I'm currently reading. And I'm not really currently reading all those. So, all right. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you later.